Hello, everyone. Hi, Rohi. Give me 2 minutes, Rohi. We'll start. Yeah? Okay. I think let's give it a start. I don't think no one else is actually coming in to join. So why not we give it a start? So yes, let's start with a quick recap of what we were doing with the window functions yesterday. That's, I believe, the last portion that we were looking into. Post which we will continue with some more details. I also realized that there are some functions and some operators that we have not really looked into, right? So these are something which are very minuscule, right? They are really very minuscule, but they'll really help at a later date, right? So I believe we can quickly look into them as well, right? And then we can look into the window functions first, obviously, and then we will look into these specific things that I wanted to share. And most probably then we are going to continue along with the rest of the important functions, things which we are going to do day to day, or things which we are going to use most of the times. And then we can look into the rest of the topics, right? I'm intentionally not going into, let's say, the architecture of the database itself. Because as a data analyst, maybe that's not really what we are going to look for, right? So let's start with the window function. Let me just quickly re-explain what we were saying with respect to window functions, and maybe I'll just share my screen first and then we can continue. The window functions, let me just try to explain them as soon or as easily as I can. Yeah. So let's say that I have a table. Okay. I have a table. Okay. In this table, I have some sales information. Okay. I have some sales information in this table. The first column is year. Okay. The first column is year. The second column is country. Okay. So in which year, in which country, this is the flow in which it is going. So year, country, then I have, let's say, product. I have the product which I'm selling in that specific country, and then I also have the profit, right? So I have 4 columns here in a table. Let's say the name of the table is sales, right? So I have a sales table where I have 4 columns. The first column is the year. Let's say the year is 2000, right? The country is, let's say, I don't know, India, or it can be Germany, right? Or it can be Finland, or it can be UK, and so on, right? So I have a list of all the countries. Let's say I have in total, I don't know, maybe 50 rows over here. Okay, so I have table sales, which has total 50 rows. And in each and every row, I have information like this. I have year, I have country, then I have the product. Let's say the product is a computer or a laptop or a phone, right? Or a tablet and so on. Yeah. And then I am also recording the profit that I have done in this category of products. This product is basically a category, as you can understand. It's not really a very specific kind of a product that I'm actually looking at. Maybe it is just a category, right? So it is just a category of the product where I have done, let's say, so much and so much of, let's say, profit. So let's say this is the scale of this profit is into dollars. Okay, and I have done one hundred $1,100 profit over here for computer in India in the year 2020, maybe. Yeah, so this is how I am actually recording the data. Now I can clearly do easy grouping or aggregation functions. Okay, so this is something that I was already doing. Right, I was already doing this earlier. Example given. Let's take a very simple example. The first question that comes to my mind: what is the per country total profit? Right. I mean, if I have country and if I have profit, right, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to maybe, I'm going to, let's say, I'm going to write a query like, let's say, select country, okay, comma, average of profit. So I just want to know what is the average profit per country from sales, group by, okay, group by country, order by, average profit, descending. Yeah. So this is what I can do, right? I can even use any more things, like I can alias this part of the query, right? I can alias the function. I can also, let's say, do some kind of having clause and all these things, right? Just to keep the things simple, this is what my query is. Okay, this is exactly what my query is. This is what I'm trying to do. Okay, so just a moment. I think I have lost the query. Let me just, no, I think it is going away. Okay, let me just put it over here and let me, okay, so maybe there is some problem. Okay, then let's not do it in this way. Let me open my notepad. Let me open my notepad. Let me clear all the drawings. Let me open my notepad and let me do a new share. I'll share my notepad. Somehow that pen is not working. So let's say I have a sales table, and in that table I have 4 columns. As I said, I have 4 columns, which is let's say year. Then I have country. Then I have product, and then I have the profit. Right. So this is how the table is actually, let's say, organized. So I'll just organize this table in a different way, maybe. So this is going to help us understand, right? So let's say I have a table like this where I have the first entry as in year 2020 in country India. I have products, let's say laptops, and I have done a profit of I don't know, as of now I've done a profit of 18,000 rupees. Right, so this is the way, let's say, my data is, let's say, segregated. Again, in the year 2019, in the year Finland, okay, I have done in the computers area, or maybe PCs. Okay, in the PCs area I have done a profit of, let's say, 20,000 rupees. Right, so this is the way my data is actually ordered. So sales is my table. Okay, sales is my table, and inside there I have data in this format. Now I know that I can write things like just the query that I was actually showing you, sample query. The sample query I can write as select country, average of profit. Okay, average of profit as AVG profit from sales. Okay, group by country, and order by AVG profit. Right. Okay, just a quick note, we have already said this, that this alias that we have used along with average profit, which is AVG underscore profit, is a name to identify this function or its output as a column name in the output of this query. But in MySQL it can be used like this. Maybe in any other database we may not be able to use it like this. Yeah, so be very careful. Okay, be very careful about what kind of syntax each and every database is going to have. Okay, just because it follows ANSI SQL does not necessarily mean that it's going to have similar kind of structure. Now, what this aggregation function does is that this above aggregation operation, okay, this above aggregation operation, what it does, groups, okay, groups query rows, okay, or rows from the table into a single, okay, into a single result row. Right. So what I mean by that is, now it may well be a point that in this table I may have, I don't know, 15 20 entries for India. Okay, maybe from 2001 until 2020 I have 20 entries for India for different products. Right, I have a product here, let's say A, then I have a product, let's say B, then I have a product, let's say C, and so on and so forth. Now, if I am doing a query like this, what it is going to output, it is going to output me India, comma, and then the average profit. Let's say the average profit is, let's say, 20,000. So it's just going to return me a single row, irrespective of the fact that there are 20 rows actually in this table. Right? So that's what aggregation operation does. That is the meaning of doing an aggregation operation. Aggregation operation groups. Okay, it is going to group the query rows into a single result. Okay, basically the aggregation function that we are using. Now, what I want to do with respect to a window function is that I don't want to group the output of 20 rows in a single table. Instead, what I would like to do, let there be 20 rows. I would like to apply some kind of a windowing function, or a function that changes over a window of time, a window of any other attribute, and so on. And it is going to give me 20 rows with an additional field, one or more additional fields, where I'll have the output of that aggregate, or where I'll have the output of that window function. Right, so that's the point of doing a window function. Okay, that's the objective. So basically I can say, on the contrary, to aggregation operation, window functions, okay, window functions performs an aggregation like operation. Right, it performs an aggregation like operation. So I'm not saying that it is not doing an aggregation, it is already doing an aggregation. So it performs an aggregation like operation, which is the first property. The second property is, on a set of query rows, of course, on the set of query rows only it is going to operate, and produces a result, okay, for each and every row, or each query row. Okay, this means that rather than having one output, okay, let's say this is going to be my sample output from the above query, right? So if I execute the above query, maybe I'll get a line which is something like this. Okay, but rather than doing this in one single line, window function is going to output me 20 lines, or in other words, it's going to return me the same number of rows which is validated or evaluated by this query or its conditions. Right, now, in case of a window function, the only difference in syntactical terminology is that we are not going to use any specific keywords like group by, order by, having, sort, and all these things. Right, so maybe I could have used, let's say, order by average profit in the descending order. That these kind of constructs are not going to be used. It will be as simple as a query, and then optionally we may want to put filters. Now, what happens if I would like to, let's say, sort the output? Right, if I would like to sort the output, then in that case, yes, I do have an option. I can do that kind of sorting inside a keyword which is used as part of the windowing function. Right, so window functions, as we saw yesterday, what we were doing, or what we saw yesterday, is that we had a window function which is something like this, and then we had a keyword called over. Right, so this window function needs some basis to run. So this is my function. Okay, this function takes some kind of parameter. It may not even take any parameter. But this is my function. Okay, this is my window function. Then it has a keyword called over, and then after over I have brackets. Inside brackets I have something. This something can be blank, or it can have some values. right? These values are usually known as operations. Okay, these values will usually be operations. Okay, why I say operations is because basis this operation, this window function will be applied if at all there is an operation, right? So let's take an example. Yesterday we looked at an example where what we did as simple as we looked into the row number. Okay, so let's just go back 1 minute. It's for 1 minute. Let's go back to our query window. I hope you are able to see it. Let's just go back to our query where we were doing this, right? Where we were doing this, right? So this was the most basic function which we applied. And what we did here is I've selected two columns which are already there in the table called enrolled. I'm selecting things from enrolled table and specifically selecting what SID and CID. That's the two columns which you see over here, right? This is the student ID, this is the course ID. And then this row number over something is my construct or is my way of defining or calling a window function. So row number is my actual function. In this case, because I'm using the function called row number does not have any input parameters. And that is the reason why uh, we don't have, we don't need to pass any parameters. Okay. Now, after that, we have this over clause. Okay, and over clause is doing what I'm going to write inside the brackets of the over clause. If I write something, some kind of an expression inside the over clause, inside the brackets, then basis that condition that I've written inside the bracket. Okay, basis the condition that I've written inside the bracket here, using that as an input or using that as a reference, I would like to say, this function is going to work on this table along with these two columns, right? So along with these two columns as an output, it's going to do this as the operation. This is my primary operation. I can say this is my primary operation, which is done basis or which is done over the parameters or the configurations or the inputs which is passed inside this. Okay, optionally, as part of these parameters, I can also sort the data, right? And that's exactly what the function is doing. Let's execute this and we'll come to know. In this case, because it is a very, very simple function, give me 1 minute, friends. Give me 1 minute. There's somebody who's trying to contact me. Let me just quickly reply him. Otherwise, I'll get, let's say, diverted. So let me just quickly reply to him. I hope until this point in time, the concept was clear, right? We are going to take some more examples, obviously, and Sarangs has also joined. He was not there in the last session. So we can take some more examples as well. And then we can try to see what is going on over here exactly with this window clause. Okay, maybe yesterday I went a little bit quicker, and that's why we are not able to understand, but that's okay. It is not a problem because window functions are something which you would not understand in the first go, right? Because window function is something which is not doing an aggregate. Usually we understand an aggregate which is grouping the data, right? That's all an aggregate does. We understand an aggregate simply by means of using or aggregating the data, right? So we understand an aggregate as if we are going to group the data, but here we are grouping the data, but we are doing it in a different way. We are going for each and every row, as you can see. The select that we have done over here, if you just ignore for 1 minute this part, there is no group by, there is no aggregate function, and so on and so forth. Okay, we can have order by inside this over block. Inside these two brackets, I can have order by. That's too, it is an optional item. I may want to have, I may not want to have, but I'm performing this function. This is my window function. Output of this window function is simply to produce a sequential list of numbers. which I can call row number. It is simply giving me row number, and I can place it anywhere. Let's say I can do a select of row number over nothing as row num, and then I select the student ID, CID. Okay, I don't remember what all the columns were there, so let me just continue with this. I can place that window function at any point in time. I mean, it's not mandatory that I have to place it at the beginning of the query or at the end of the query. I can place it anywhere, right? I can slice it within the columns as well. Okay, even in that case, it's going to work because the output, this thing is actually getting executed. Okay, so this part is getting executed by MySQL in the backend, and it is getting aliased or abbreviated as row num. So that's what you see as a column name over here, along with the rest of the columns that you may have selected. The only advantage you have over here is that you can actually do something like this. Let me just quickly clear the screen. And extra what you can do is this, right? Now, if I do a star at the end of the query, this is not going to work. If I want all the columns, right, and I don't want to write the column names of each and every column which is there in the enroll table, we are lucky that we only have 4 columns, right? Or maybe we have 3 columns. So we may want to remember them and write it. But if I don't want to do that, and I would like to do a select star kind of a thing, then that star has to be placed before the aggregate function or before the window function. Okay, then only it is going to work. Okay, if you're doing a select star, if you want to do a select star and do an aggregate, you have to put the star before the aggregate function. In that case, there is some rule, there's some logic which you have to apply, or otherwise, at least in MySQL, it's going to give an error. Why? Because I need to use a comma over here. That's why it is giving an error. I'm writing something and then I'm writing star, and that too from the same table. That's why it is giving an error. Okay, so in this case, what is happening is these first 3 columns, right? These first 3 columns are what is there in the database. And then what I am asking this query to do is that was you do a row number, you add a row number over nothing. I'm not giving you any logic. I'm not giving you any conditions to check. I'm not giving any ordering that you need to follow. You simply give me the row number. Okay, and alias it. You mark that column as row num, and then you print the output like this. Okay, and that's exactly what it has done. Right now, what if I have a somewhat, let's say, different kind of a requirement. Okay, so let me just go back to my notepad and let me just write this down again. So window function, okay, window function consists of what? First of all, it consists of the function itself. Okay, this you can find the list of all such functions from MySQL documentation, right? And then it has this over clause, okay, which is giving, or which we can call as a directive. The directive or the conditions, if at all any, basis which we want the function or we want the window function, let me just write it as WF, is allowed or is expected to run, right? So that's what is happening. There's a window function block or a section in the query which has the function itself and the directive. Anything that goes within the directive, which is actually optional, is how the window function is going to run. Okay, so let's take an example and we'll understand. So let's say one of the very common things that we do inside this directive and the conditions thing is to partition the data, right? I would just like to partition the data. I would just like to uh, logically segregate the data. That's all I'm doing. I'm just trying to logically segregate the data. I'm trying to logically segregate the data basis something, and that something will be passed inside my query, right? So let's say I would just like to sample query again a sample query which I'm going to write again from, let's say I can take the enrolled table only. So I'm going to select star from the enrolled table, just that I can explain you what is going on over here. Again, I'm going to use the row number function. Okay, the most simple window function is row number. over, earlier we did not put anything inside the bracket. Now we are going to put something. Okay, and I'm not going to tell you right now what that something is. First of all, I'm going to show you something which I said can be done inside the over block. It can optionally be done outside the over block as well, which is ordering. So I can order the output outside or inside the over or the directive block. So this over thing, that is the point number 2 that we have explained earlier, may have this order by or group by inside it, or for the entire query I can write the order by or group by outside it. Okay, because ultimately this is an aggregate. So yes, I can order it, right? But technically it makes no sense to group the data anymore, because I'm going to show all the output. That's why you will never see any database implement these kind of window functions which is going to use group by, right? Because you have to leave that concept now that there is any grouping which is going to happen. Okay, there is no grouping, okay, which is going to happen. Okay, no grouping is going to happen right now, right? If I run this, right, exactly the same output I will get as I have already got, right? But what I would like to do is that I would like to partition the data. I would like to logically segregate the data by the course ID. So what I say, partitioned by CID. So I'm asking this query, or the query executor in MySQL, that was, I need all the rows, star I have written here. So that's why I need all the rows from enrolled table ordered by the course ID, and also give me this additional column, which I'm going to say as row underscore number, right? I'm going to call this column as row underscore number, which will execute a window function called row number. Okay, and this function, okay, will be applied, okay, basis this condition that I have given inside the over block. Right now, what is the condition that I have given over here? The condition that I have given over here is that you must partition the data. You must logically segregate the data, using this column course ID. This column is part of this table, right? So unless this column is part of the table, we cannot do this. If I write something else over here, let's say I write over here TID, right, and TID is not part of this enrolled table, then this query is going to give an error. Obviously, this is a very no-brainer. But what I'm trying to do is, this is the function which is getting executed, or it is getting written inside this over block, which is telling this row number that I need to take this as the condition or as the prerequisite to apply this row number function. Okay, let's execute this and we'll come to know what this is exactly doing. Okay, let's copy this. Let me just share my command prompt, and then I'm going to do a paste. Okay, then let's see what this is doing. The first thing I see is that there is some error, right? Why is this an error? Let's try to explain. What happens if I remove the order by? It is still giving me an error. So order by is not an issue. It may not be an issue. What if I remove this? If I remove the alias? Okay, then also it is not solving my problem. Okay, there is something else. Maybe I need to remove order by as well. Okay, let me remove the order by. Then also the problem is not solved. What if now I just do a quick thing before I progress? I'm going to do a describe of this table enrolled. And then rather than writing this thing, I'm going to say SID, CID, grade. And I execute this. Right? Again, it is giving me an error. Right? Why is this the case? Is because of this thing. I intentionally wrote that in lowercase, this by text in lowercase. Please note, this kind of functions are case sensitive. If I'm saying partitioned by is a condition or a directive, and it must be as per MySQL documentation uppercase, which is usually the case in many of the databases. It is always uppercase. There are some very smart databases like Oracle, which do not force you to write things inside your query, which should be mandatorily uppercase or lowercase and all this nonsense. But MySQL enforces some kind of proper way of writing window functions. That's why you see row number function, the over clause, as well as partition by has to be written in uppercase. If I do that, okay, then also it is giving me a problem, right? Then also it is giving me a problem. Why is that the case? May I need to use the order by? Okay, let's go back to my previous query. Okay, let's go back to my previous query and let's do an order by. See, I'm using the same CID column, course ID column, which is inside, okay, which is inside my partitioned by clause. Okay, yes, of course. In this case, I've made the same mistake again. Let me just remove this. So partitioned by is now caps. Everything that I need to mention in caps, it is in caps. This is as per the documentation MySQL, which I've already checked maybe. And then I'm doing select of some column, and then I'm selecting row number over partition by SID. But still, it is not giving me the output. What if I just clear the screen and let me just remove some of the columns from here? Okay, let's say that I would just like to remove everything. If I run this, is that going to run? No. Obviously, because I have not selected anything, right? So how is it going to run, right? So let's try to put the column CID over here. Is it going to run? The answer is no. Okay. Is order by going to work here? The answer is no. So these are the things that we need to keep in mind, that the syntax, which is the regular syntax, it may not be a common syntax across all the systems, right? Now, a very important point which Saransh has already pointed out, right, which is we were talking about partition by, right? So we have to be very careful when we look at the documentation and try to find out if we are using the right syntactical word. If I do this, now I get the output. So what my point here is, my combination, the way I write the query, the way in which case I'm going to write the query, the order in which I write the query has to be exactly as per the documentation suggests me to do, or otherwise I will not be able to do these things. Let's just go back to my original query, and then I'm going to write this, right? So now let's try to look at the output. Okay, let's try to look at the output and let's try to understand what is exactly happening in the output. This over keyword which we have over here, let me take a pen. This over keyword that we have over here, the one that we are executing, let me just give me 1 minute, friends. Yeah, so this over keyword that I have over here has a text or an intuition called partition by course ID. Okay, so it is taking this course ID and it is doing some kind of partitioning with the values. So I have 4 values, 1, 1, 2, and 3. Ideally, I would expect that it's going to create a partition for each and every one. Is that what it is doing? The answer is no, because if that is the case, it would have given me different kind of row numbers. I would have expected this to come in one group, this one to come in one more group, and this one, the last one, to come in one more group. Maybe I'll just remove the lines and draw them once more. So I would have expected, because course ID is 1 over here, this should come as one group. Course ID is 2 over here, this should come as one group. And course ID being 3 over here should come as the third group. Right? But that did not happen. If you look at this output over here, it took the first one, this first row, okay, the third row, and the fourth row as one partition, or as row number 1. And then it gave the other row as the second partition, right? Or the second row number basis the partition. Why so? Is because if you look at the first row, the second row, I'm sorry, let me just remove this once more. If you look at the first row, the second row, and the third row, is there anything that you find which is really interesting? We look at the first row, the third row, and the fourth row. If you look at it carefully, the values of SID is distinct. The value of CID is distinct. The value of grade is also distinct. The combination, if you are going to consider this as a set of 3 rows, right? So this is row number 1, row number 2, and row number 3. So this is, let's say, R1, this is R2, and this is R3, right? Then the combination of these 3 columns which you have in row number 1 is never matching with the ones which is there in R2, which will never match with R3, and so on. So there is nothing common between R1, R2, and R3. That's why they are grouped as one partition. The moment you look at the second partition is where there is at least one value, which in this case is the student ID, which is not the one in which we have partitioned it, which is not the one, which is not the column that we have used to partition it, has a different value. The course ID may well be same as the other one. The grade may be same as the other one. But because one value has changed, it has now put it into a different cluster. It has now put it into a different group. Right? So imagine you are just trying to cluster the customers in your company based on some kind of a unique property. Let's say maybe you would like to finally plot them. Okay, you would like to finally plot them, and you would like to create 2 clusters of your customers, or let's say of your employees. You're an HR. One cluster will be those where they have a moderate, let's say, salary. This y-axis is the salary, and let's say x-axis is the number of trainings that they have done, right? Or how much qualified they are, right? So how much on-job training that they have done, and the current value of the salary that they have. Let's say this is the CTC, right? And not the monthly or the gross things. And let's say this is the CTC. So obviously you will agree that logically it makes sense that if I'm doing a lot of courses and I'm upskilling myself from time to time, I know a lot of technologies like, let's say, SQL and data science and, let's say, machine learning. So if I've done a lot of courses, my salary will be very good as well, right? Because then it is quite expected that at least my organization understands my value, and it is going to give me a good salary as compared to the market rates, right? That's what basically an employee thinks about. So in this case, we see a cluster of customers. Let's say this is cluster number 1, who have done mediocre kind of trainings, okay, who have done lesser, I mean, average number of trainings, right? Let's say if I have in this x-axis the data ranges from 0 to the number of courses being 50, okay, then this value approximately will come over, let's say, 20, right? So people who have done 0 to 20 trainings are ranging from this kind of a salary. Let's say 3 lakh per annum, which is my joining salary. Salary can never be 0, right? So this taxes for Y starts from some value 3 lakh per annum, and this goes up to, let's say, 15 lakh per annum, right? Or maybe this is a very bad range. So let's say 3 lakh to 10 lakh per annum. So within this range of 3 lakh to 10 lakh per annum salary, I have people, I have cluster of my employees who have done 0 to 20 courses, right? Why I have considered 0 as well? Because obviously, or maybe this is actually wrong. This is actually wrong. We should not consider this as 0. Let me just remove this and let me say that this will be, let's say, 5. Why I removed this and put it as 5 is because when we join an organization as a fresher, obviously there is a joining training. The moment we join, we are given a lot of training on a lot of programming languages or things of that sort. Right? So at least 3 to 4 things we are already taught. So either we have done 5 things on which we have done trainings, or we have done it for 20 different things. In this range, I have a cluster of customers like this, right? But what if you have another cluster which is over here? You have a cluster of customers who have done close to 50 courses while being in your organization, irrespective of the duration, right? Irrespective of the duration for which they are working in the company, they have done close to 50 courses. And their salary range is now, you see, it is more than 10 lakhs. It is approximately, it may start from 10 lakh and it may have gone to 30 lakh. I don't know. So this is the second cluster of customers, cluster 2. Right? What is the unique thing which is different between these customers and these customers basis these 2 features that we have considered? One is the salary, one is the number of training. What I can clearly say that these customers, if you look at the range, right? If you look at the range in which they are falling on this x-axis, this value is something like 35, and this final value obviously is going to be 50. So 35 to 50 is the range. This range, the average of this range is far higher than the average of this range. And that's the unique factor which is distinguishing these users from these users. And that's why some kind of a statistical, let's say, methodology, which we will see later on, that we have applied, has divided my employees into two groups, cluster 1 and cluster 2. Cluster 1, those employees whose salary is very mediocre because they have done mediocre number of courses. And there is one more cluster where people have really pushed themselves, they have done a lot of courses, and their salary is also comparatively very high. And that's exactly what is happening over here. Let me just clear all the drawings and get back. The first row, the third row, and the fourth row are all consisting of unique values, right? They are all unique values. That is the reason why they are put into the same cluster. Why? Because they're entirely distinct from each other, entirely different from each other. But if you look at the second cluster, I have a combination of course ID and grade, which is the same as any other row, at least one more row in the table, but I have a different student who has got that combination. And this is the combination of the attribute, the combinative or the combined attribute, which is making this as part of a different group, right? And that's the reason why here I am getting an output of 2, right? I hope this was not really a very good example because we have lesser amount of, let's say, data. But I hope I was able to make you understand what is the main function of using that partition by clause, right, inside the over keyword. So over keyword basically specifies, as you may have understood, over keyword basically specifies how to group together the rows when computing the window function. So when you are computing the window function, what is the methodology that you are going to use, right, to group them is by the course ID. In this case, I have done it by the course ID, right? But that is not to say that I'm going to ignore the uniqueness in the data. So uniqueness in the data is considered basis the course ID only, right? Again, another point of view to look at it. If you look at 1, 3, and fourth number of row, the course IDs are unique. Then I have the second row where again there is a repetition of the course ID, which was already there at the first row, right? So this is another analogy by means of which you can try and understand how this over function or how this partition by directive which is inside the over function is actually giving you the output. Because I partitioned it by the CID. What happens if I partition it by the student ID? Okay, let me just partition it by the student ID. If I partition it by the student ID, see what is happening. The first 3 rows are unique with respect to the student ID at the first place. So whatever I'm writing as partition by and then the column name, this column name is actually treated as my primary key. So in these 3 rows, my primary key is unique, right? Let alone these combinations can be different. So I'm taking a group where at least this key that I have used as a partition or a partitioning key is actually giving me unique outputs. It may well be the case that the rest of the columns are not giving me unique. See, the combination is unique, right? You see over here that even if SID is different, this combination of CID and grade are same, 1A, 1A, right? But if you look at the entire combination of the row, okay, of all the 3 columns, student ID, course ID, and grade, then this row is entirely unique as this row, right? And you have unique entities or unique student IDs. This is the ID or this is the column that you have used as the partition key. That's why it is going to group these 3 as group 1, and then it is going to group these 3 as group 2. I can also do things like this. I believe this is going to work. It is not mandatory that whatever I'm partitioning the data with has to be used in case of the ordering. The only advantage it does is if I do it like this, right? In some cases, it helps me understand the cluster better. That's all, right? It just helps me to understand the cluster better. That's it. Nothing more, right? So what if I think you have understood what is happening over here? Let me just take a final example using grade. Okay, what it is doing with the grade. If I look at a cluster like this, or maybe what I'm going to do, I'm going to order this, using student ID. This 2 rows and the 4th row, so the first, second, and 4th row has come in a single cluster, right? Why? Because everything or the combination is unique, right? Basis the grouping that I'm trying to use. The grouping now is, the partitioning is now done by what? Grade. So if I'm partitioning by grade, then this is C, this is A, this is B. And of course, the combination along with the rest of the 2 columns are also unique. Hence, I get the unique value. Okay. But in this row, what I'm doing is, again, I have a repeat. So I have a repeat of the key. I have just considered this column as a repeat, right? No, I'm sorry. These two has to be considered here because I'm using grade. So grade is actually repeating over here, right? Grade is repeating over here. That's why I'm considering this block as a different one. I hope it was clear. If there are any questions.
So that means the first value will be giving 1, and the second value having the same grade will be given 2, right?
Yeah, true.
Uh, Also, what will happen if suppose we have some more rows with the CID and grade as 2A and 2B?
Okay. So let's do this. Let me just execute this query once and let's see what is going to happen. So insert into enrolled. Okay, values. So you want some more rows where you have 2A and 2B combination. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, or is that 1A and 2B? Okay, 2A and 2B. Okay, no problem. 1010 1 2 A. Oh, sorry, I think it goes inside this, right? So that's the structure. And then I have 2B, and this is going to be 20, right? Now let's execute the query, see what it is doing. The first row, the second row, and the 4th row are entirely unique. Then it has created a second group, right? Then it has created a second group with this row, and then it has selected this row. And in the third group, it has selected this row, right? So the reason why this is happening is because it is going by the order. It's going by the order of the student ID that I have specified. It is simply going by the order. If you see, if you take an order of these 4, right? Because I've not mentioned a descending order, so obviously it has taken an ascending order. In ascending order, this is the smallest value, this is the next value, this is the next value, right? So it has taken the unique combination of these 3 values as one single cluster. So this one, and this one becomes 1. What is the next value that it has to consider? The next highest value for SID, which will be partitioned by grade, right? Because I've ordered by SID, so it is going to take the next value, right? The next value it takes is this A, right? Because it has to partition by grade. So first of all, it checks grade, and then it checks this. So it takes A, and then it takes B. So if I go by the occurrence of the grade, so first it takes this, and the second it is going to take is 1 because this is lower than this. So SID 53688 is lower than this one. And then in the third place, it's going to again take this one because this number and this combination is the highest. If you look at this combination, this is lower than this combination.
Okay, and just to clarify on this, am I getting this right? Like, I can also say that there are three grades.
Yeah.
So for all the A's, like for the second, third, and fifth one, I will name as one, two, and three. And then I have two B's. Then I will give the B which is above, like the fourth one as one, and the second B as two, and then the remaining C as one. Is this reasoning correct?
Well, this reasoning will be correct if I do something like this. If I don't order the data, okay, or even better, if I order the data by grade. Because the partitioning it has done by itself only. So partitioning logic, you are right, but if you look at this, this partitioning output has no interrelationship with this. I mean, this output, the one that you see over here, does not, or it is exactly the same as this one. Right? So it does not change with the ordering by grade. Are you getting my point? So it is basis this, the one which is inside this, the one which is inside the over clause, and then only the output is going to be ordered by that column, which I have specified here. Right? So partitioning will be done by the column that I have specified inside the over clause.
Yeah. Because the output is same in both
Right.
the cases. Yeah.
Right.
So that is an easy way to understand the output.
Understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If we have no more questions, let's just look into some few things which I, as I informed at the beginning of the class. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so we are going to look into some things that we have not looked into earlier. So these are specifically some, let's say, some operators, you can say, some operators which we can use inside the querying, and some of the functions which are also very commonly used. So we have some time. I think we can extend for just 8 more minutes. We have some time now. So we can quickly look into these because I believe there is a better way to explain them, which we did not do. And that's why we can have a look into them. So if I do a show tables, I would just like to show you a very common kind of a function, which is very commonly used. I am not entirely sure. I'm not able to recall if we have already done this. So select star from students. Okay, if I do a select star from students, I just want to know, okay, how many students are here where there is this CSE 2020 mentioned or CS is mentioned, right? So what I can do is select count of records, right, from students where the column which is giving me the login information is login, where login like, okay, like CS, and I get the count which is equal to 20. Now, what is the difference between using a count star and a count one in some of the databases? And you have to confirm this from the documentation of that DB. In some of the databases, if you have created indexes, and we have not looked into what is the concept of an index, we're going to look into it now. So if we have created an index on any column, and if I say count one, and it usually accesses that index, and hence the query becomes faster. So there are two things that we have seen over here. We have seen a like function that we have already seen earlier. We have seen a percentage sign, which I believe we have already seen earlier. we are using 2% sign over here. Why? Because we are specifying anything can be there at the front or at the end, but the text will contain this set of words, or this text or this identifier called CS. So give me all the records where this column has any value which is like this regular expression. It can start with anything, end with anything, but it should contain this string or this text. The second point which we saw over here is count star and count one. The results are the same. Obviously, there is no reason to believe that count one is going to impact the output or not. Why? Because this output is a logical output. It has nothing to do what I'm using over here, right? But as simple as it sounds, in any database, in any table, we may have one or more columns. Let's say column one, column two, and let's say I have a table which is until column n. So I have n number of columns in a table, and I have n number of rows in a table. Let's say I have, I don't know, 100k rows, okay, in a table. If I already know that in many of my queries, in majority of my queries, I am going to make use of the columns, let's say C1 and C10. Okay, so I have two columns which I'm going to majorly use. So in, let's say, if I'm going to write or fire 10 queries a day, out of these 10 queries, at least 8 queries are going to have these columns C1 and C2 written inside them. Either they will be there in the select list or they will be there in the filter list. So filter list is what? Filter list is after the where clause, and select list is what? Which is before, or let's say you can say between the select and the from clause. So C1 and C10, let's say, hypothetically in this example, are the ones which are going to be used most. So I can go to my DBA and I can ask him, sir, can I have permission to create indexes? Or if not, if you are not going to give me the access to create indexes, please create indexes on column C1 and C10. Right now, basis this input or this question that you are asking or this task that you are giving to a DBA, the DBA is going to tell me, okay, you are telling me to have indexes created on C1 and C10 column. Fine, I'm going to do it, no problem. I have no issues doing that. Please send me these 8 queries. Please send me these 8 queries. I'm going to check the execution plan. Okay, there are administrative ways which are out of scope for us because we, being a data scientist, may not really be bothered about it, but I would strongly recommend you to look into the optimization section. If we are going to be working with MySQL or Oracle or any other DB, every documentation contains a section for the optimization of queries, where you will come to know how to run specific command line utilities to find out the execution plan and how to then read the execution plan. So you give these 8 queries to your DBA, simply put, he or she is going to run the execution plan, or he or she is going to look at the execution plan from all of the queries, and basis that execution plan, he or she is going to decide, even by hit or trial sometimes, is whether he is going to create a composite index or individual indexes, right? So what I mean by that is, if he is going to decide, I'm going to create individual indexes, one on this, which will be called index 1, and one on the column C10, which is going to call index 2, he or she will be doing that basis the output of this execution plan that they have seen. Or else there might be some other DBA, she has decided, no, I'm going to create a single index, I3, and I3 will be a composite index for column 1 and column 10. So whenever I use a query where I have both column 1 and column 10 used together in the where clause or in the select clause, this index will come into place, and this index is simply just a metadata. It is just a metadata which helps find the data faster. It is similar, it is exactly analogous to the index page or the appendix page which you see inside any book. So let's say I have a big 700, 800 page book on MySQL, and I just want to know how to uh, how to do this kind of a regular expression inside a where clause. So I'll just go to the appendix, or I'll just go to the index, and I'll search for the page number. Right? I'll search for the page number. I'll simply go to that page. I will be able to find out, okay, so this is my syntax by means of which I can run a query like this. Right? That will make my life easier rather than studying all the 700 pages or going through them individually. So count star, what it does not make use of any indexes. Count one, what it does, it usually makes use of indexes, but that depends on the database version. So which database you are using, what version of the database you are using is going to define that. There is one quick thing which I wanted to just show you. Just like not like, you have not like as well. So not like is just the not operator, which we have read in the basics of, let's say, electronics classes and logic gates and all this thing. So not like is exactly the hypothetical opposite or the logical opposite of like. And so this is a very important kind of a parameter, very important filter. Okay, this is very useful when you are doing data analysis. Okay, but please be very careful whenever you are doing like and not like. Please align with your DBA, right? I'm sure you will have experienced people working as DBA in respective teams, respective organizations. Please talk to your DBA before doing it. Please don't fire like or not like queries directly onto the database. It is costly. Okay, it is really a very costly operation if not done in the right way. If you're doing it in the right way, for us it does not really matter because we have very small data and hardly we have what 23 rows if I'm not wrong, right? We ran this query with like I got 20, with not like I got 3. So a sum of 20 plus 3 is going to be 23. Simple. I have total 23 rows. So I can simply also verify this by pasting this query over here, and as you can see I have 23 rows, right? So for a table with only 23 rows, no problem. What happens for a table which is 23,000 rows? If I'm going to do a very bad likes and is likes on that table, it's going to be a problem. Okay, that's why please consult your DBA and then you can take a call. Whether or not you should be using those in that case. Okay, just before we close, let's quickly look at a very quick kind of a definition or very quick kind of a differentiation between 4 types of functions which are very useful. We have seen some of them already, but I just wanted to give them some name. I believe I did not do this earlier. I should have done that. The first kind of function that we have used or we will use are called string functions. These are things like upper, lower, and all these things that we have used already, right? So that's one kind of function which is there in MySQL, right? The second kind of function is the numeric functions. Okay, this we have not looked into. We have to look into this. These are like if you want to convert an integer field, for example, into floating point, or you want to convert a floating point into integer, you want to round a floating point number by 3 places of, let's say, decimal and all these things. So anything which is related to your numeric functions. Okay, this can also be mathematical operations like finding out the average, right? You can also try to find out the average, right? So these become the numerical functions, right? The third kind of function that we have, okay, the third kind of functions that we have just seen some time back is the aggregate functions. Okay, aggregate functions I can divide into the regular aggregate functions, okay, the regular ones, and the window functions, right? The fourth one, which is also very commonly used, it is called a datetime function. We are going to spend a good amount of time on datetime functions and aggregate functions. Okay, because compared to these two, okay, or maybe I can say string, datetime, and the aggregate. These three, 1, 2, and 3, are used the most. The numerical functions are also used. I'm not saying it is not used, but these will be mostly used once you have done your data engineering. Right? So let's say you have a table, you have already extracted the data as CSV, or you have already prepared this data as a view. View is a new concept which you are going to see tomorrow. And then you are going to write a IPython notebook with a lot of Python code, and it's going to work on this view, considering this view as a data frame, and then it is going to do all the operations. So the operations that you do as part of your modeling is going to consist many of the numerical operations. So it may well be a fact that you may seldom be using numeric functions, but string functions, datetime functions, and aggregates, these are something that you will very oftenly use. Okay, aggregate happens both the places, both in the database place as well as in the notebook place, right? Okay, I think let's make a logical stop over here. Let's continue tomorrow. I will share the notes as well, okay, in the e-learning portal. If you have any queries, please do let me know. Yeah. Thank you,
Thank,
friends.
thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.